Man, all right. Another thing that's been on my mind, in part, it was before Vince Carter retiring, but he had a little something to do with it because I was looking at the veterans around the league, and I saw, damn, how many teams Vince Carter played for? Jeez, you think about it, and then you kind of forget, and then he pops up here and there. Oh, Sacramento, he's still playing, and then stuff like that. I just want to give you guys a list of some all-stars, that 10-time plus all-stars that played for multiple teams. Moses Malone, 9 teams. Shaquille O'Neal, 7 teams. I can't name half of them. And guys that played for 5 teams and made double-digit all-stars, Allen Iverson, Jason Kidd, Carmelo Anthony. And then we got 4 teams, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and then we'll stop at 3 here. Wilt Chamberlain, Charles Barkley, Kevin Durant. So naming a lot of great players there. They made double-digit all-star games. They played for between 3 teams and 9 teams. 2 total ends of the spectrum right there. Hearing some of these names, Dill, what do you think, man? When a guy plays for so many teams, does it kind of water down his career, in your opinion?
Ultimately, no. I'd say some of the guys on the list that you kind of just rattled off there, some of them were trying to achieve one of the greatest accomplishments in the NBA, and that's try to get that NBA title, right? A lot of them weren't maybe drafted in the best scenarios. You know, maybe free agency moves didn't work out the way that they wanted. A lot of dominoes have to work together to win the championship. 29, other teams are going to be angry every single season because they don't get that W, right? So I don't really see it as a huge negative. Most of the people on the list are potentially going to be Hall of Famers, if not already. So I'd say that's a good list I want to be a part of. That just means that there's still an ability and a need for their services. You can argue maybe some of them were maybe hanging a little too long, that they just wanted to hang around, maybe before they can move on without basketball being in their lives. Definitely an opportunity there. But I think most of the time there is still service and need that they can bring to a team, and veteran leadership in the NBA. I think that's unmatched versus a lot of other sports. I think it's a bigger deal, especially, come crunch time, playoffs and championship experience that really actually impacts it. So I don't view it as a negative. I don't really put like a bad stamp on their resume, if you will.
Ed?
Yeah, I agree with Dylan wholeheartedly. Absolutely not. I mean, you can go from somebody that played in middle school, high school, even, and they get better at it than they even were in high school. You see what I'm saying? They continue working out on their own or not, without no pay, just their personal satisfaction of getting better. I mean, how many individuals you run across that way? So to tell a pro athlete, you play for 2 teams, okay, that's it, you should hang it. No, it doesn't work that way. And Moses Malone, I mean, he was one of the first cats that got straight out of high school. You know what I mean? And he was just a good player. And when you're a good player like that, and you're a team that thinks that is on the verge, of perhaps going deep into the playoffs at the very least, if not winning a championship, you're going to go to a Vince Carter, Moses Malone, Chauncey Billups. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're not in the right situation. So this turnover and be part of a big trade package maybe at the same time, coming out of Wyoming, and then ended up with the Pistons as the champion. Chauncey, individuals like that, some people don't get to stay with the same team. Dominique Wilkins, one of those lucky guys, you know what I mean? Same team, even one of my personal favorites, Kevin Johnson doesn't get a chance, up in Cleveland. They trade him over, you know what I mean? And he becomes a superstar player in my eyes, and he's got the stats to prove it. That's my personal. And Nash, he was with Dallas, and where does he end up? in Phoenix, those guys are lucky that they get to, one or two teams and continue to quest on. But, if one team cuts you, like I know if you're a superstar like Shaq, right? Because he was on your list, one of the guys that played for a lot of teams. You know what I mean?
7.
Who wouldn't want the Shaq on their team for one more chance to roll? Come on, just give me 20 minutes a game, Shaq. See what you got. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you take it up, Shaq? I need another ring. You know what I mean? And it helps your broadcast career. You just want to continue it both ways. And sometimes coaches, it's high turnover too. They change teams, right? And you have a relationship with certain players, and if they can fit in and what they can do for you, whether they can just mentor in the locker room, mentor on the bench, besides what happens on the court. You know what I mean? So that elongates people's careers too. I would take that pay. It's on you, Wes.
Juwan Howard pay?
Yeah. Michigan coach.
Sorry.
Juwan Howard played for 12 teams pay. Yeah. I mean, look, that's a great example. A guy that wasn't really a 10-time All-Star, Juwan Howard, kind of just another guy. Look, I brought this up because to me, it absolutely affects how I view them all time. Maybe not in the moment, in that era, maybe not. But look, I couldn't name all 7 teams Shaq played for. I had to look that up.
Right. Sure.
I'm sure most of us can't.
Exactly.
I'll tell you who they were. I'll spare you the struggle. But look, Miami, LA. You might remember Phoenix,
Boston,
Cavs.
Oh,
Lakers.
You got them.
Yeah.
You got him. Okay. So, but look, I don't know, man. The fact that Shaq played for so many teams, but that's kind of picking at a superstar,
right?
All-time great. So, look, am I gonna dock him a whole tier? No, not like that. But like, I do kind of hold him in less regard than I do as Tim Duncan. It's
right.
like. If Shaq had played for one team and Tim Duncan played for 7, I probably feel the exact same way about whoever played for that one team. It does have an effect on, I think, not only how you and I and everybody else is remembering these players, but when you're coming up with these rankings all the time. Carmelo Anthony. A lot of us say Carmelo Anthony is one of the best scorers of all time. Then the next question is, well, if he's one of the best, where does he rank? Look, I'm not asking you guys to rank Melo in his scoring right now, but him playing for 5 teams, look, I don't remember them all. Just being real. It impacts how I remember Carmelo. It impacts how I think of Carmelo today, who's hanging by a moment right now. And I kind of set the table there to ask you guys what you really think of LeBron James and Kevin Garnett. 4 teams isn't 7 like Shaq or 9 like Moses Malone or a dozen like Juwan Howard, but these guys are considered to be top 5 or 7 at their position all the time, if not higher. I mean, you both picked Michael Jordan as the best of all time. Where do you have LeBron James? And does the fact that he's bounced around a little bit kind of impact your opinion?
Absolutely not. I think a very, very good ball player in the NBA is probably going to play for 6 teams. When you think about it, if you're, like I mentioned a couple of guys earlier, and like Jordan, how many teams did he play for? And, LeBron wanted to win. Wherever he goes, he tries to win. He went back to Cleveland. He won. He's in LA trying to build another team, to win maybe 1 or 2 championships. I have no problem with that. It's tough. KG, all the respect in the world. The guy toughed it out in a very tough West when he was in Minnesota. And then, he put together that team in Boston, and he delivered. You know what I mean? Like, KG just delivered. I applaud guys like that blood, sweat, and tears. I'm going to continue to do it. You know, you don't have to like me, but I'm going to come beat you. So, yeah, I have no problem. And like I said, you know, superstars, they might play for 4 teams minimum. There's very few or under even, but there's the average NBA. Just on skill alone. Did J.R. Smith just get called up again? I'm just saying.
It's true.
Because they know he can handle the moment. I'm just saying. They will call you and you will pick up the bat phone. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm there. Just get the flight for me. You know?
It's true. It's true. But in 20 years, we're not talking about J.R. Smith.
You're right. You're right. But what I'm saying, this is a star calling him. You know, there was nobody else on the Lakers calling him. That was LeBron James calling him. He goes, that's just the power. And if you're a good player, you got skill level, and you don't blow people off, you know?
Yeah, go ahead, Dill. I mean, we both know that's because Avery Bradley is chilling because his daughter has an issue and he can't get. I respect Avery Bradley, but that's the only reason J.R. Smith's on that team.
But that's okay.
100%. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say at this point, it's definitely case-by-case basis. As you kind of mentioned with Shaq, I'm not going to hold that against him. 7 teams, I'm like, it still doesn't change that he was the most dominant player to ever play the game. Again, that's a case-by-case situation. I like how you brought up Carmelo Anthony. That is definitely somebody I do ding for this situation. Couldn't make it work in Denver, forced his way out there. That's a different topic for another day, but didn't have to do what he did to get to New York. Then just kind of jumped around and wasn't able to adapt into a role that other teams wanted him to, which is the majority of the league. So, yeah, I'm holding that against Carmelo Anthony when I'm looking at his career arch as he, continues to move forward here towards the end of it. Allen Iverson, it's one of my favorite players ever. That could be a fair debate there. For 5 different teams, that's still insane to me. Like, he even got to play for my Detroit Pistons, and I'm sure most people don't even remember that. So I'm just saying I love Iverson. Everyone's going to remember as a Sixer. I don't think people remember him much in other jerseys, to be perfectly honest. Maybe in Nuggets just because they have cool jerseys. That's a cool –
Melo.
Exactly, and Melo, exactly. Cool jerseys and throwbacks, but case by case, I have respect for Kevin Garnett. Again, maybe it's bias, love for the Chicago and just seeing what he did when he was on the T-Wolves. That was cool. Blood, sweat, and tears, did everything he could for that organization. And I didn't even know he played for 4 teams. I thought it was 3, so that was news to me. So, but yeah, definitely case by case. Like, we can go through all of these names. LeBron, I guess some of the books still needs to be written a little bit, see what this Lakers chapter does. Ultimately, if I had to project now, I don't think it's going to negatively impact what I believe his legacy is. But hey, there's still, something that can change here in the near future. But yeah, I think it's case by case, but a lot of these guys, I'm not going to hold it against them.
That's fair. For the record, KG retired a Timberwolf that he signed that technically a 4th, I guess, figuratively 3 teams.
Okay. See, that's kind of what I assumed. It was some situation like that. Okay, cool.
Of course, they're going to allow him to do that, And
right.
I appreciate he did that,
And I get it. But even if I didn't count that, he still makes this list at 3,
for sure.
And, well, okay. You don't have to give me a top 5 ranking all time, but off the top of your head, would you say LeBron James is in your top 5? Yes or no?
Yes. Sorry, I forgot to answer that, but yes, top 5.
And you know what I do nowadays? I just stick with the number 1 guy, and I say number 1. And on any given day, with any stats that all these players have accumulated, they can all say who's number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, depending on age and era too. So I'm sticking with number 1, number 23 Jordan, and that's it. I'm not even placing anybody else. Okay? That's just how I roll. No, going forward, there's a lot of talented athletes. I don't want to disrespect anybody.
So there's a cop out. There's a soft no right there.
It is. I keep it as Mr. Jordan, and that's it. I love all the rest of them. They entertain me too. But
off the top of my head, I got to tell you, on top of my head, I think I have LeBron at 5. I think it's not a firm yep. I want it to be. I'm a huge LBJ fan. Just keeping it real. Of course, topic for another day. Just giving you my quick yes or no.
yeah.
I'd have to think about LeBron James as a top 5 player all the time. It's not just about talent, and it's not just about championships, and there is a whole resume. We all know that. We all know the deal. So I think if you can think of it, if it can be done on the floor, if there's anything that can make an impact, it all counts. Everything gets thrown in the basket. It all matters when it comes to splitting hairs with greatness, because he is great. And what we're doing when we're talking about all-time lists in any sport is splitting hairs, because you kind of have to. So the whole multiple team thing, it kind of does take an impact when I think about LeBron James. It just does. I applaud him for going back to Cleveland. I understand each move. I understood them. However, it does impact how I view him all time. There is a slight ding factor to that, and I don't think it's just an older generation thing, because I talk to sports fans of all ages, high school, all the way to 60, 70-year-olds that you see at the gym and all that, and everyone understands. Say what?
Watch your toes, big boy, when you start throwing out those ages up there.
Hey,
okay?
That's just an appreciation. I love sports history and hearing. But look, when you get to other guys, though, other guys that may have been great for a period of time, but not the best of all time kind of thing. Look, I was a huge Vince Carter fan. He played for 8 teams. I don't know if we can name it all 8 together. And look, Chris Webber played for 6 teams. Look, 2 guys that played very high level, elite for a certain period of time. They played for a lot of teams. Then you get, those guys may be more remembered than others. But then again, they're not popping up on these lists that you and I and others are going to be talking about at the gym, or when we're getting our haircut, or when we're getting together to watch games. I'm not naming Vince Carter unless I'm talking about slam dunks. And usually when someone brings up Chris Webber, they're always going to throw in, oh, but the dude that called timeout, right? That was in college, but it still follows him from the Fab 5 days. So, 2 great players, but it does impact. They played for so many teams. They don't have the bling. That matters too. But, how about some other guys? Dad, I know one of your favorites was Sam Cassell, point guard.
He's on that list, baby. He played for 8 teams.
You got the number on the dot. He played for 8 teams. Here's what I didn't vividly remember. He was part of 3 championship teams, and he helped the Timberwolves to their first conference finals in franchise history. Thing is, despite being known to be clutch, he only made 1 all-star appearance. Sam Cassell. Dill, you look back at Sam Cassell, what do you think? What are you thinking?
Just another guy, just the typical journeyman, you know what I mean? Just trying to, hey, I can't fault it. You're still hanging around the league. That means you have some valuable set of skill sets. I alluded to earlier, Dad as well. Hey, a veteran presence goes a long way sometimes. So even if it's just mentoring some of the young point guards, because he's like, hey, I got to see and playing against a lot of these guys. This is what I can share wisdom-wise. So, but other than that, yeah, just kind of a guy. He's going to be serviceable, give you a couple minutes here and there, but it's mostly just the leadership value.
Definitely a blue collar guy, man. He made it happen when he was on the court. He was probably what you call an extension of a coach, where one facet that you didn't have to worry about. He knew who to give the touches to and everything like that, wherever he played, and you didn't want him to guard you either because he was in that. He was constantly, you probably wanted to elbow him in the forehead or something, and but very respectable. And 8 teams, like I said, even the average one plays 6, and Cassell, he was able to play with some very good players too. You know what I mean? I know a lot of players that in that era would have loved to switch spots with him. So hey, here's an interesting one. I know it's on the list. Dallas Mavericks at one time had Mashburn, Jason Kidd. Can you name the third? Ohio State. Yeah, probably pay for most teams.
Are you talking about shooting guard Michael Finley?
Nope. Jimmy Jackson.
Jimmy Jackson. He played for like 11 teams.
Pretty much half the league.
That's the cat coming out of Ohio State, thinking that Dallas was going to be, they had 3 cats that were all good. You thought they were going to win some games. They just couldn't get along or whatever. I don't know. They just didn't do it, and they got separated. But everybody thought Jimmy was the man, big, strong, athletic, could defend, and everybody's going to roll the dice on him. That's how many teams did he play for? Excess of 10?
Yeah, double digits.
Like 12. Yeah.
11 or 12.
Cassell or Jimmy Jackson? Cassell. I'm just saying, those guys don't come with all that flair.
Hey, it's cool for during the era, but we're looking back at guys. I brought up Sam Cassell because he was someone I remember, but also because he's one of your favorites back in the day. And thing is, though, we're talking point guards.
Yeah.
No one's naming Sam Cassell.
Right.
And he has 3 titles.
Yes.
It's just crazy.
You want all-star games or those titles, baby?
Here's another one. Go ahead.
I was going to say, are we going to knock down Gary Payton at all for playing for 5 teams then?
You know what? My answer is yes, because I only remember him in Seattle and then ring chasing with the Lakers. And then the third team that I recall is, I believe, Miami, where he actually did get one as part of D-Wade and Shaq. Yeah, he got one.
He got one. But does that
really
count?
He was in that rotation, actually, so that does count. I think he was playing 20-plus minutes a game.
He did start for a point in that season, but he was coming off the bench in the playoffs.
So, hey, that's a good one. The glove, GP, he does get knocked for that, though, because we've been talking a lot of point guards off the air all off season, all during quarantine, and we're tossing GP's name around left and right. I know you both remember that, and he just wasn't as high on that list as maybe on the surface we would have thought. And then here's another PG, another one of your former favorites, Dad. He played for 9 teams. The only player in NBA history with 16,000 points, 8,000 assists, and 1,500 steals to not be named an all-star. Andre Miller.
Mr. Back You Up from half court.
Oh, man.
He's got the old man at the park game, man. He's just going to draw at you. He'll back you down from anywhere on the court, and he'll find the open guy.
I do like him, man. I appreciated his game so much. He was just a raw, consistent, another blue-collar type of guy, handled it, not selfish at all. I mean, what can you say, man? Those cats, any teams these days would love to have a guy like that, not to worry about him, especially in this social media world, I doubt he would be on it much.
So, hey, you know I back up all athletes, all sports. I know it's just tough. You got to grind your way to even get there, and everything you have to do that's entailed to even play at a respectable level is so challenging. So I won't bring up this topic about multiple teams in the NBA to take a stab at people, but it's kind of throwing shine on them, to be honest. Not shade, but shine. Maybe it's a double-edged sword because of the topic, but like, look, are we going to be the latest people to talk about Sam Cassell and Andre Miller? Like
Probably.
I remember last time I heard their name on the radio or on TV. Right?
Yeah.
So, and then I'll throw a shout out one more player and then a team before we switch over to the NFL. Larry Hughes played for 8 teams. Something I just found out in 2005, he scored 22 points a game, 6 boards, just a shade under 5 assists, and led the league with 2.9 steals per game. He made all defense, but he was not an all-star. Never an all-star in his career. We're not bringing up Larry Hughes when we're talking about shooting guards, best defenders, 6-man. We're just not. So when I bring up Sam Cassell, 8 teams, Larry Hughes, 8 teams, Andre Miller, 9 teams, had they played for 2 or 3, I think their all-time impact would be much higher than it kind of is now. Is that fair?
I just say a lot of people would take a chance on Larry. Trust me, he even played for the Bulls one year. I don't know how many teams he played for, but I was hoping when he came that he would bring his game and just, hold and stick with us. Obviously, that didn't happen. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's some talented players out there that just don't get to do what the Millers and the Cassells of the world actually got accomplished.
How about you, Dill? Look, what do you guys think of when you hear the name Larry Hughes? Let's be honest.
Again, just another hooper, just flying under the radar, slipping through the cracks. And like you said, I think a main reason is, hey, if you've worn 6, 7, 8 different jerseys in your career, it's kind of hard to keep up with somebody. Let's be perfectly honest about that, unless that's your favorite player. But a lot of times it's going to be the ones getting a lot of love in the media anyway. So, but ultimately, unless you're a fan of that team, you probably don't know a lot of guys like Larry Hughes, unfortunately. He's a good player, though.
That's fair. That's fair. And then the last players I want to throw a shine on, I call it the Journeyman Championship team. I have a respect for that team, whether it was your favorite team or not, Dylan. Chauncey Billups at the 1, Rip Hamilton at the 2, Tayshaun Prince at the 3, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, down low.
Yeah.
That was a squad.
I was going to say I should know all about Journeyman because that's what delivered me so much joy, just watching those dudes play. It was about whoever the 5 was on the court, including some of the backups. Lindsey Hunter is still hanging around there and doing his thing, another NBA journeyman, helping out, for the cause there. So, out of anybody, I got love and appreciation for all the journeymen in the NBA. So, but yeah, it was awesome to see those boys together. Rasheed Wallace, probably one of my favorite Pistons ever. Just the man. I don't think he gets a lot of respect given. From the NBA world. I think there's a lot of stuff he's done in the past, but maybe great timing for him. Social media wasn't a big impact at that time, or else it could have been a lot worse. Some of the off the field attention or off the court attention. But hey, I got love for Rasheed. I got love for all those guys. So yeah, 2004, 2005, great times.
Yeah, if you just think of him and if you just took Chauncey and him.
Yeah.
How they just kept going, from, he had success where he was before and Chauncey him climbed and that was the makeup of that whole team. I mean, they just beat you up. They were they did it the same way the old bad boys used to do it.
Stay true.
It's what they need to do now still.
Hey, Antonio McDyess as well.
Oh, you had to go there.
Antonio, he's the man.
He played for a few teams too, but
He battled
Mid-range
injuries
magic.
too, though. Remember,
Yeah.
at the beginning, he battled injuries, but he kept going on.
and look, I think that team was a little bit special, more than special. Not that there's been a basketball movie about replacement players like there has been for football, you know, the replacements and all that. It actually happened a long time ago. But, like, I'm not calling those guys replacement players, but that's the closest thing the NBA has ever gotten to. Just a squad of journeymen balling out of control. Man, Rip Hamilton, that dude hit everything under the arc. Rasheed Wallace was like a Kevin Garnett. There wasn't much he couldn't do, man. Like, and how clutch Chauncey Billups became. And I would, you know, we just talked about Sam Cassell being clutch, and he won 3 titles, more than Chauncey Billups. But I think if we compare them side by side and we're taking sides here, we remember Chauncey, and we probably have Chauncey higher on that list. Am I wrong?
Mr. Big Shot.
Mr. Big Shot.
Right? And then Big Ben. I remember I got a pair of Ben Wallace shoes before it. We were talking about a defensive player of the year that was who? Like, played for Orlando? What? Like,
Yeah, coming out of nowhere. Nobody knew who he was.
Nope.
that was a squad. The only dude that was expected to ball was Tayshaun Prince.
Yeah, highly touted, recruited, all that. Absolutely.
Man, like, hey, I'm glad we got to throw some shine on 2 Midwest teams, Chicago, Detroit, because they need some shine these days, don't they?
Not a lot of love out there right now.